Welcome to the Nomad Futurist Podcast, where ideas shape the future and visionaries redefine what's possible. Join us as we dive deep into the evolution of technology, society, and human potential, spotlighting the voices driving change and reimagining our world. Connect with us and join us at media.nomadfuturist.org. The future is a story we write together. Let's kick it off. Here are your hosts, Phil and Nabeel.
Hello. Welcome to Nomad Futurist. This is your co-host, Nabeel Mahmood, currently in Reston, Virginia.
This is your co-host, Phillip Koblence, also currently in Reston, Virginia. In real life, you can tell I'm pinching these people.
Oh, jeez.
Introduce yourself.
Doug Recker, Duo's Edge. I'm back. Here we are again.
I'm back. Have you ever been on before?
I
don't
no,
think you have.
In the Edge business, right?
Right.
So
you're back. He's back in the Edge business.
That's right. Sold the other one. Now we're doing it again.
And from the smell of it, it's going very well. It's going well. He's got a very, very rich smelling cologne.
That's Louis Vuitton. Baby.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Eau de toilet. That's what it's called. That's what my pronunciation might be off.
All right. Well, Doug, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. This has been way overdue. I believe we last saw you in Vegas.
That's right.
Yeah, it's been almost a year, right? It was in October. It was Structure Research last year.
That's right.
Trying to get you on a podcast since. But here we are. Did it. And actually, it's kind of cool that you are actually our first one in person in quite some time.
Yeah, this is it's been real. All right, I guess the first question is: can you tell us at a high level who is Doug Recker?
All right.
And what do you do?
Oh God. Well, yes, Doug Recker. I've got about 30 years experience in the data center business. Used to build brick and mortars. I owned Colo 5. Sold that in 2014 to Cologix. Was a good exit, and then started another one called Edge Presence. Sold that to Ubiquity Fiber a couple of years ago and started a new one called Duo's Edge. And the same thing, modular data centers, 15 cabinets, 300 kW. And our focus really is the education and healthcare sector on this one.
So that's something that we got to talk about before we get into any of this. Tell us about your upbringing. I mean, what's your background?
Well, my background was I was a wrestler, believe it or not.
Oh, I believe
I was about 5 years old. And grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. Did a high school thing, and right after high school, I went into the Marine Corps. And I went to the Marine Corps to wrestle, and then I became an 0311 because the wrestling never happened. There was a little war that started in 1991. So enjoyed that time there. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I went door to door selling long distance. I don't know if you all remember MCI PST back in the days. That's how I learned how to sell. So did that, and then became vice president of WorldCom, and then at a young age. And then,
can you imagine how many long distance minutes you have to sell to go from selling door to door to becoming the vice president of WorldCom?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. Like Delta Airlines, a lot. Yeah.
Did you threaten them when they opened the door? You're like, there's two ways this can go down.
It was a poor homeless Marine. You kidding me? Everybody's going to buy from me. So I did that, and then I ended up in Jacksonville, Florida, and I was selling fiber for level 3 at the time, and came across a building that was an old building, Bank of America check processing building. And I thought somebody bought it to turn it into a data center. So I approached to sell fiber, found out these guys were ripping everything out, the raised floor, the generators, everything. And I said, look, guys, stop doing this. It was 2 guys. And I said, stop doing this. What are you getting per square foot on this? He said, we're going to get $12 a square foot. We're going to turn it into office condos. I said, you got to be kidding me. These walls are 18 inches. This looks like a prison, right? So I talked him into not doing that and putting the $500,000 they were going to put into the rehab of the building into basically 5,000 square foot. It was a 120,000 square foot building. And they said, all right, we'll give it a shot. What the hell? So I lived in that building, literally in a tent. I lived in that building for almost a year, put all the raised floor back in. And
the same one. Yeah. You just took it straight out of the dumpster.
Yeah, it was all in the back. You got that right. I was beating people off because they were picking it up, right?
One thing I'm sure that the one true part of that story that I have no doubt about is that you were beating people up. But can you imagine the level of confidence that it takes? You go in there to try to sell them fiber because you were under the assumption that they were converting it into a data center.
Right.
So you go there as a salesperson trying to sell them fiber, and you tell them to stop.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I did. And they stopped.
And they stopped. They stopped.
One didn't speak English, but he knew what I was saying.
Stop feels universal. It's because of that sign.
Yeah. So we did that, and we turned it into Colo 5 and built another one. And
how do you even engage in that? So those are the guys. So they were the workers. That was the ownership. Like what is that process?
Guys, they were standing in the lobby, and they were looking around with plans in their hands. And I said, "What are you guys doing?" Right? And that's when they said they're going to turn into office condos. And I said, "This is a data center." And they didn't know what the hell that was. So I showed them some numbers. I said, "Give me 2 weeks to put a business plan together. Stop what you're doing." They did. I came back. It was less than 2 weeks.
And then you became partners with them?
Yeah.
Right.
And then I had to get more money because it was taking off. And I went to 5 angel investors that were local in Ponte Vedra, wealthy guys. 2 of the guys started PepsiCo bottling. I mean, they were great guys, older guys in the 80s. And they believed in the vision. And then we ended up, 6-7 years later, selling to Cologix at like 90% occupancy.
Brilliant. All right. So again, stuff that we've got to talk about, but I'm really very curious that you went into Marine. Well, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Even though you didn't wrestle.
Yeah.
I'm still a little hurt about that, so be careful with that.
It's okay. You're wrestling right now.
It's fine.
What did you want to do as a child when you went through this journey? I mean, you picked up to go serve the country. Was that your pathway? Did you have a pathway besides that in mind? Like after you get out of the Marine Service, what do you do?
So this will throw you for a loop. This little thing here. So this is why I went into education too. This is very important to me. When I was young, I was diagnosed with ADD. Imagine that, right? So they really didn't know what that was. So when I went into my freshman year, basically I had one teacher all the way through high school. I didn't leave the room. Everybody jokes about that, but it was one classroom. There was 3 other athletes in the room, and everybody made fun of it because they said, "Oh, it's the athletes, so they don't have to do work. Machine just passes them right to the next grade." So I did that, and when I was in that class, Machine taught me. She said, "Look, you're not a college person. You're a salesperson." I said, "What does that mean?" She's like, "You interact with people. You know how to treat people. And if you have a product, you can tell you're passionate about it." What I did in school, she taught me how to sell, basically. She let me sell donuts in the morning that I would make in the classroom. And I would sell them to the school kids during the day, in the morning. And I was making money that way. And I was selling that. And then I went in the summer, started selling stuff. And she taught me that, look, you don't have to go to college. I mean, I'm supporting college, my kids and all that stuff, but it's not made for everybody, right? And you have a talent, whether it's electrician, HVAC, or selling. Take advantage of that talent, and that talent will bring you success. So just get out there and do it. It's not about the money. The money will come, but if you're passionate about what you do, it's going to sell it, right? And what comes with sales? Money comes with. So you enjoy what you're doing. She taught me that. So God knows why I went in the Marine Corps, but I did. And when I got out, I took up, her lessons, and I did that. And that's how I've been in sales ever since.
I think one thing that when we talk about this at times as we're trying to integrate what Nomad Futurist is doing into schools is the fact that in the curriculum, like the traditional curriculum in schools, which hasn't changed since the second industrial revolution, there's not really a focus on kind of soft skills and critical thinking and just, trying to make people aware that their biggest commodity is their perspective and their lived experience. And if you can figure out what you can do for a living that just allows you to be your authentic self, then you'll be successful because it won't feel like work. Right. And it's amazing that you had that experience. And it was kind of, sometimes you hear about ADD or ADHD being a superpower. And it seems like you were put in a position where, you were able to find that superpower.
That's right. Yeah. And use your skills, use what God gave you. Right. So,
where do you think that sales thing, were your parents salespeople?
No. No, not at all. My mom was a LPN. She worked 3 jobs, and she really raised me. And then my dad actually was a dentist. So, yeah.
That explains those pearly whites. That explains those pearly whites.
Any siblings?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have one full brother, actually, who lives in LA. He's a producer. He does like the Dr. Phil and Chris Angel. He does those kind of shows. So he's got talent on that side, right? But he did go to college. He went to Ohio State, and he was like one of the smart guys, like my dad. And then I have 4 stepbrothers, sisters. So, and they're all, educated, and they're doing their thing. So my sister, though, actually is in sales. She works for like a Costa or Kroger or something like that, selling. But yeah, so it's really, if you look at the landscape of my family, everybody's a little different in every aspect. So it was cool that we could grow individually.
Right, and it seems like the one that didn't go to college is the one that's been the most successful. I'm just inferring.
I don't know. My brother owns an IT company in Cincinnati. He's doing very well too. So, but yeah, it's interesting, and that's the other thing, through my career, I always push the education, right? I do, and when I first started Colo 5, my first hire was my assistant, and her name was Rochelle Price. Brilliant girl. And as we worked through, she got her master's and she got her doctorate. And now, she's a big executive, big company. But I love pushing people to what they want to do. That's what she wanted to do, support it. And on the other side, when I had Colo 5, what I did is when we built the one in Lakeland, Florida, we went to the area. Basically, it's jail for kids, right? Juvenile detention. And the kids that were getting out, we brought about 7, 8 of them to the data center, and I gave them a tour because I know what they're going through. They're kind of lost a little bit, but they think that the world's on top of them, and they're not. I mean, they have skills that they don't know they have, right? So I was telling them about the electrical work in the data center. I was showing them about the HVAC, telling them about how my sales reps sell and how they make money. I don't necessarily look at a college education. I can tell by talking to you if it's a good fit or not. If you believe in yourself and you believe in, really what your passion, if it's there, then it's a certain spot for you, right?
Feels like that's something else you learned from Mrs. Shane.
Yeah. She was 6'5", by the way, too.
Oh, I'm sure. I wouldn't mess with Mrs. Shane. If Mrs. Shane is listening right now, you did a great job. I mean, this is your star pupil.
So we brought him in. It was great. We brought him in, and I gave them each a gift card to take their family member, mom, grandma, whoever's mentoring them to dinner, and a gift card to Men's Warehouse. So they all got fitted for suits, and they got to take their important person in their life to dinner. A couple of them did well, but we got a couple of them. One selling cars. This has been years ago. Was selling cars. Came back and said, "Look, this is what I'm doing." A totally different person. He's making money, and that's what it's about. So that's why I'm so interested and so excited to be with you guys, because you guys have a great mission, and I love it. And unfortunately, it's just, deploying these pods have been so busy, and this is something we wanted to do years ago, but I'm glad we're together now.
It's amazing understanding like what your vantage point is and what your perspective is. It totally, like all of it kind of makes sense, right? The idea of, even from a community engagement perspective, what you're doing with the pods, and we should get into it, down in schools in rural Texas, the notion of bringing people into the success of our industry and giving them a stake in the outcome is a way for us as an industry to, be more welcomed into communities, as opposed to, having people be skeptical of us for taking up all their resources while they organize online picket protests to stop our.
That's what we're doing. Yeah. Every time I land in a little city in Texas, I'm thinking there's going to be a runway full of people going, "Get out!"
No, but they're like, "Come on, you smell great."
Yeah.
What does that smell? Amazing.
I told you.
Amazing.
It's a knockoff of Louis Vuitton. I can't afford the real stuff.
Oh, I get it. Somehow I doubt that.
So you get done with your service. You start selling long distance minutes. How did you end up picking up that sector?
Actually, this is great. I was working in a bar that I lived above it. I rented an apartment above it, and I was bartending when I got out. And, a little taste of civilian life. It was fun to bartend and go out there and hang out for a while. And I had a regular that came in, and he was a regional director for MCI. he said, "Hey, look, you're great with people. You should come and try to sell long distance." And I'm like, "What the hell is that?"
I especially like the way you were with that guy you flung out of here.
Yeah. I said, "What the hell is long distance?" So he, gave me a crash course on it, and he said, "Look, you can make up to this amount of money a week." And I'm like, "Really?" Yeah. I said, "Well, I'll give it a shot." And that's how I gave it a shot. Back then at MCI, PST, you would go into small towns, and if you sold X amount of phone lines, they'd pay for your hotel room. If not, then you were sleeping in your car. So you learn the hard way. There's been plenty of nights I slept in my car. But yeah, so that's how I learned. That's how I learned to, you can't teach people, and this is what I tell everybody in sales, you can't teach people phone muscles, right? It takes a lot to pick up a phone and call somebody. It takes a lot to walk in a door that says no soliciting, walk in the door and try to talk to somebody after you got thrown out of 60 doors before that, right? So you got to find that passion. You got to find that knuckleheadness, right?
Right.
And it's out there. So,
one thing I can guarantee you is Doug Recker has the knuckleheadness. There's no doubt.
Hopefully.
So that's a great start to a career. Where do you think was the intersection of, okay, I'm working for somebody, they've given me direction, I've got a business plan, I'm following the process, right? So there's that discipline that carries over from the military. But then again, we see and we hear from what you just mentioned earlier in the conversation about being an entrepreneur. The risk factor is increased significantly. I do not have that steady paycheck. I don't know if I'm going to actually end up sleeping in the car forever.
That's right. That's right.
How did you make that transition?
Well, really, if you look at it, the history is, you kind of are an entrepreneur when you're in sales, right? You really are. So just like I started my own business really with MCI. They didn't pay me until I sold something, right? So that's where I got the passion actually when I was young. So it started in school and I found my
The donuts, Nabeel.
That's
the donuts.
Right, the donuts. We went from donuts to just donuts.
It's not. This is a kid friendly show. This is a kid friendly show.
No. Stolen cars. No.
Okay.
So
all right.
I always
publicly traded company.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do that, to do my own thing. So when I found that opportunity, that window, I said, you know what, let's give it a shot. And I was so passionate about doing what I was doing, selling, the fiber into data centers and long haul fiber and all that. It was the new thing because before that, right, when WorldCom bought Intermedia, I don't know if you guys remember that. I was up here in Reston. We opened an office we bought Digex at the time. So Intermedia took over basically the IP arm. And I had 200 plus people sitting across the street here selling internet over the phone. So they were selling internet over the phone, but they were selling T1 small access. And I said to myself, how are we going to make a lot of money doing this? You're not making money selling $2,000, circuits. Who uses the most? Who does? Who back then in 96, 97, who used the most internet? Question. Come on.
Oh, the question for me.
Yeah, of course. Everybody's going to. I'm looking at you wanted to get the answer.
Who is using the most internet? Banks?
No, porn.
Porn.
There you go.
Porn. See, I don't have that kind of.
So my guys went from selling, guys and gals went from selling $2,000-$3,000 a month to $33,000 a month because the DS3 back then was $33,000. So we killed the market. We killed it. I took the whole team to Key West. Some of them are still in the industry. I took the whole team. We went.
You want to name some of them?
Yeah.
That made.
out with Parson.
Yeah. There you go.
Do they ask you like what is your target vertical, and do you tell them who your target vertical is, or do they not?
I stood up on the desk and told them. I said, "We're hitting the porn industry."
Right.
And you know what? Everybody started their career from there, and they did very well, and I was proud of them. But yeah.
How did it work out for WorldCom?
Yeah.
All right.
That's where I got the scar on my chin. I opened my Alex Putnam statement, and I've passed out in the kitchen, hit my chin on it.
Right.
I went from like $4 million down to $60. So.
Right.
Yeah. Not a sore subject at all. Appreciate it.
Do you have any salt that I can pour on this wound? So. Look, I think there's no one that's going to look at this thing and not be drawn to your enthusiasm, your confidence. I think in general, what is more difficult for us to share is that level of kind of vulnerability. And I don't think a lot of people share it because they see this. By the time they see you, you're a success.
Right.
And clearly there were setbacks along the way. I have no doubt. Just looking at that scar on the bottom of your chin. So can you talk about, maybe some of those setbacks and how those kind of either reinforced you or kind of maybe grounded you a little bit?
Sure. So, one venture that I had when I was, out of the Marine Corps after I was working with MC, I did on the side, which was this thing called Cord-a-Lock, which basically locked the plug in the wall so you couldn't pull it out. I know, it's stupid, but listen, hold on. So I'm like, I believe in this thing. I'm going to sell it. I went around the country in my car trying to sell this on like 5-day weekends and stuff, taking time off. And basically what it was is, if you remember when you were weed eating out in your yard and you used to unplug the damn thing out of you had to walk all around to the garage and plug it back in. Well, that's what this little plastic mold injection device that I had. So it's the outlet cover. You put it on there and it has a hook on it like this. Locks in, so you can't pull it out. It would break at a certain pressure, but they locked it in. So I'm like, who could use this thing? Because I couldn't sell it to anybody. So I sold it to a company called Baco, which basically built.
I was positive he was going to be like porn.
Yeah. So no, yeah, exactly. So they make weed eaters. So they were going to put them in their package and everything. So I made all these prototypes, went out and borrowed money to make the actual first allotment, and then they backed out. So for about 4 years, I had to work, and all my money went to paying those guys off. Right. So that was my very first taste of Loserville, right? And owing people money. So and what I learned from that, though, what I'm known for, if you've talked to any of my investors before, and it's different with a public company, but we're changing that mindset. How I was brought up in this business as an entrepreneur is I had to look across the table at you and take your money, right? So I didn't sleep knowing that I owed you money. There's something with me that doesn't sit right, okay? So it's whether it's $100 or $2 million, like Mr. Shercliffe wrote me $1 million in his office. And I looked at him and he said, go do it, son. And I went and I had basically $5 million worth of people's money, these 5 gentlemen, very successful. And I didn't look at it like, oh, well, they're giving you money. They do this all the time. They need write-offs. They wouldn't give it to you if they didn't want it, if they didn't think they were going to lose it, kind of thing. I don't think, and I don't operate that way. So I work 7 days a week. I have that mindset when you owe somebody, you got to pay them back, and you got to give it 110%. Now, back to the other point I was trying to make earlier is on the education thing. I'm not close to the smartest guy in the room, but I put people around me that are smart in certain things. If I could teach anybody in business, that's what I would do. Don't worry about trying to be the guy that does 900 emails a day. If when I won the fastest Inc. 500 back with Colo 5, they came and audited everything. They said, well, what happened to all your emails? Because they were auditing everything. And we were like 236, fastest company. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, there's 130 emails for the last 2 years on your server.
Right.
Like, yeah, I don't do emails. I'll pick up the phone and I'll call you. Have I ever emailed you? Maybe not. If I did, it's from my assistant because she sees my email.
I think you did email me to call me a sissy for not coming to Amarillo.
There you go. Right. That was probably a text, but anyway, I wanted more personal.
That was a text.
I wanted more personal.
They didn't audit text back then because they didn't have it.
Exactly.
There was no SMS.
Exactly. So put smart people around you and focus on the prize, which is basically don't cancel all the outside noise. Do what you're going to do and do it till you hit the finish line.
Yeah, look, I'm hearing self-awareness, know what you don't know. And I'm also hearing something that we don't hear a lot of in this current business climate where there's a lot of what people refer to as dumb money coming into the digital infrastructure industry. And this is the concept of stewardship. The idea that, you have to be integrity above all else, because ultimately when you fail, which eventually you will have to, you need to be able to kind of own up to it and then take that experience and move it forward, but make sure everyone is made whole. Didn't necessarily work out that way for WorldCom. That's the last time I'm going to bring up WorldCom.
You like that?
It wasn't.
It's starting to open back up.
Let's see it. I'm going to stretch it out. I'm going to stretch it out. So can we get into what Duos Edge is doing specifically as it relates to the kind of educational focus and how these pods are being deployed and what informs that?
Yeah. So we'll back up to the beginning of Duo. So after my 1 year non-compete was up, after selling Edge Presence, I went to Chuck, who is the CEO of Duos, and said, look, and I've known Chuck for a couple of years. I used to make his pods for the rail. They do that railroad inspection portal, the public company. And I said, look, I have this idea that I wanted to continue, and it's in the education sector. And he believed in me.
And when you say pods, you're literally talking about a four steel, like a shipping container.
Yeah, well, it's not a shipping container, but it's 55 foot long, 13 feet wide, and it's shippable. There's about 65,000 pounds when we ship it. And they're made here up in Denver. And once it arrives at the site, it's the normal pod, right? Everything is inside of it. It's all ready to go, plug and play. So I said, look, I want to do a proof of concept with the school district. And I went to a convention and I met Michael Keogh, who is basically the CTO of Region 16, which the region centers, there's over 20 of them in Texas, and they support up to 50, 55 schools. So they're like the corporate headquarters for the schools. And they actually do the curriculum. They do the managed services for the school, circuits and all that stuff. So I met him and I said, look, I have this idea to make the network stronger for the school systems and to save them money. He's like, well, how do you want to do that? So I told him the concept. Basically, I put this pod behind the region center and I'd partner with you. You put your gear that's inside your building now that's servicing the schools, because once you dig into the schools, they don't have the money to make their data center inside their school N+1. They don't. They're lucky to have a generator outside. So I showed him, look, I'm going to bring 2 generators. I'm almost a tier 3 that I'm going to put in your backyard. Now you can sell other services like managed services. You can sell, because we're SOC 2, you can sell security services, all that, and make a revenue stream. That's how they stay alive.
To local area businesses?
No, to the school.
The school. So the customers are the schools.
Yes, exactly right. And they're funded by the state too. But any other revenues help the school district, and it helps everybody in that ecosystem, right? So we put it down. He partnered. He was excited. He's actually my biggest advocate. He's helped me get through all the other schools there. So we did that proof of concept, and we showed the schools, look, we are bringing connectivity there that basically we bring multiple carriers into that pod. Now, they can actually peer. They can do whatever the carriers want to do. But the exciting thing for them is now they have multiple carriers in that pod behind their building. Now they have the redundancies built into their network, right? And then the school district can actually sell products to the local community too now. Like you said, Region 16 can sell services to the local hospital, the county, and to whoever, enterprise businesses. So it brings a revenue stream in for them. The goal is for them not to have a bill with us. So we charge them per cabinet. But if you look at what they're doing inside their building currently, they've got to pay for their UPS system. They got to upkeep. They got to cooling, all that. We showed them about 30% savings when we brought it and put it into the pod, plus with all the redundancies. Now, the other thing is the schools have circuits back, and we partner with FiberLight on this. They're building fiber to each school back to that hub. So now the circuits are bigger, more robust. So the kids at the school now can do AI things like that. They can have better compute. Because right now their circuits are, in these rural areas, the circuits aren't good. You know that. And they're expensive. So when you do this, the circuits are shorter run. They don't have to go all the way back to Dallas to hit AWS. Now they can hit their learning platform there locally. So with that said, it actually saves them money on their circuits, gives them more robust connectivity, and then they can do other things with their grant money. They can start with AI, bring different servers and equipment in and use it for that. So it's actually worked perfectly. It's awesome. So what we're starting to do now, what we want to do, and we'll talk to you guys later about this, is we want to
let the record show that Doug just winked at me.
Yeah. We want to put one of these pods at the school district there so they can teach the kids how a data center works. Yes. And just not cross connects, things like that, but they can rack and stack. They can actually they integrate it with their program. And it's not that much money for us to build a pod for them to work on, right? Because we don't have to put the redundant generators and all that. They can tie into the existing pod. So that's
plus the value of the goodwill is just going to be a boost to this dog.
Well, we're going to have you pay for it.
Oh, that's right. I'll also pay for the wall. I'll pay for the wall down there. Is there a reason why you started with Texas?
Actually, because I met Michael Keogh.
Yeah. That was just it was the only reason.
Yeah.
Is there something about the way the kind of the region system works in Texas that's unique, or is it applicable to other states?
We're going into Illinois in probably October. So then the Carolinas. So we have a bunch of interest now in other markets because word's getting out what we're doing. They want to understand it. So,
and is it focused on these kind of rural or extra suburban environments?
Right.
Because
it doesn't make sense to put this in Dallas. It doesn't, because the data centers are right there. The connectivity is strong. So it's the underserved markets, and you're talking 15 cabinets, right? So the market can justify 15 cabinets. It doesn't make sense to build a $30 million data center in Amarillo or Corpus Christi. But what's happening, what we're seeing evolve now, is now that we're going to these markets, so like Corpus Christi, for an example, we're working with the school system down there, but we have a pod basically full just with carriers. They heard we were going down there, and it makes complete sense for them because they're all independently. They all need to interconnect to each other, right? So if we have a tier 3 backed up, dual generator, N+1 everything, they're going to want to co-locate in there, and we're like Switzerland, right? We're not like AT&T won't let everybody else in their pod, which makes sense. Now they can all peer basically,
and they end up being customers of the school district. They are not US Edge customers.
No, they're our customer, right? Exactly, yeah. Yeah. So in the school district, if they refer us business, right, in which they do, in these communities, it's great because whoever works at the city is their friend works at the local, everybody knows each other, and it's a win for them and it's a win for us. So it works out perfectly.
Brilliant. Looking back at your journey, I mean, it's certainly been very inspiring. If you were to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
You would have wrestled in the Marine Corps.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure. I wouldn't say I would do anything differently. I learned a lot, right? I made like a lot of mistakes going into even with the second pod business I started. So like right now we're at our final model of the pod. I've been through 8 different styles, right? I don't know. I think if I wanted to go a lot bigger in the beginning, I would have those 5 local guys I had, the investors. I probably would have talked them into going bigger, bringing more capital at the time.
But that's the benefit of hindsight. I mean, it's impossible,
sure.
right?
You're right. But I think that's. I don't really have.
I think we should have made Mrs. Shane, put Mrs. Shane on the board.
No kidding. Let's find her.
Of US Edge. Let's find her. Mrs. Shane, we're going to find Mrs. Shane. I don't know if the dozens of listeners that we have can find Mrs. Shane somewhere. We need to bring her in and show her our pupil.
So let's rephrase the question. What would you tell the young Doug Recker on what career pathway to choose, what skill sets to work on?
Yeah, I would like I do now. So even with my own kids. So I would tell them focus on what you enjoy, right? Don't create something that you have to force yourself to do or you're not sure. Let your mind lead you in that direction, right? Whether it's being a dentist, whether it's, electrician, whatever your passion as an attorney. God, we don't need an attorney. But yeah, whatever your
be everything except an attorney.
Yeah. But we need those too. So, but yeah, just follow your passion. And I know everybody says you have a lot of I do. But it just comes out naturally, right?
Right. So, I mean, I think the concept of just figuring out who you are. I always try not to say follow your passion because I don't want to create a bunch of starving artists out there that just say I want to dance.
Yeah, right. No,
but try to.
You got to eat still.
You got to eat, right?
So and I did that too. I worked 3 jobs when I was doing. Actually, the cable that was in that building, the old Bank of America, I would take that cable out on the weekends and at night. And I'd cut it and I'd take it to recycle. That's really how I paid myself, right? I could almost do $1,000 a week in all that cable, all that copper that was up there. But I was also paying other people to put floor in and things like that. But yeah, just keep your head down, and you're gonna get a lot of hits in the jaw. You are. I mean, that's just and you just focus on the end game.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. This has been really good to get to know you a little bit more personally, and
it's always fun being with you guys. Not gonna lie.
Look how happy he is! He's gonna burst.
Yeah, because once the thing goes off, you're gonna bust my balls even more.
I mean, you know what? I think the outtakes are gonna. I think we should keep the thing going. I think the outtakes are gonna be more valuable than the intakes. Thank you so much, Doug.
Love you, brother. Love you too. Thank you, guys. You really appreciate it. You guys are doing great stuff. I love it.
Oh yeah, no, and special way. Come on,
Hey,
bring
there we
us
go.
in. There she is. There she is.
She is why I'm where I am today, by the way.
Right.
So she's the best.
There's you couldn't do any of this.
That's right.
None of us could
That's
do
right.
any of this,
That's
frankly,
exactly
without
right.
without
She is the
Alyssa Miller.
best.
So, thank you so much. Do you want to sing for us? Okay. Love you all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the Nomad Futurist Podcast. Remember, technology, markets, and challenges will continue to evolve, but those who adapt and prepare are the ones who will thrive. Embrace the change, stay curious, and let's build a future worth moving towards. The journey has just begun, and we are glad you are here with us. Visit us anytime at media.nomadfuturist.org to stay connected and be a part of the movement. Until next time, keep exploring.